Hey there! If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. I'll say that again. It's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast. Oh, yep, with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. Now it's time for the Big Bad Broadcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now to welcome you to Bitchin Baby Boomers.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Bitchin Baby Boomers. We got a great show for you. Today. We have our regular guests of crazies. We have Peter Bales. We have Mike Mione. We have Joe Silky. And, of course, Mike Grief. And we got a special guest for you today. We have a guest who's the star of a hit TV show in England. He's been one of England's greatest actors of all times. So we're going to go outside the boomer box. And hey, Ralph, welcome to the show.
I like that intro, thanks.
Yeah, all right. Let me introduce everybody quickly. We got Peter Bales, we have Mike Grief, we have Mike Mione, and Joe Silky.
Hey
and
guys.
You
Mike.
You say hi. What? I'm sorry, what did you say?
I'm saying, no, Mike, I see you're out of prison. What happened?
Hey, you got to get for all this. There's, space is limited,
Fair enough.
So you were on a hit TV show in England that's been running, I believe, for 10 years called Death in Paradise. And we have a little promo picture of you here looking very Neville Parker.
There I am. That's me.
There you are.
That's my best serious detective face.
Yeah. I think I have the same jacket.
And
yeah, I'm sure you do.
And for people that don't know this show, you can see it. You can order it now on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And you can watch it on Amazon. It's a great show. Kind of tongue-in-cheek, detective-y, almost like Columbo.
It's Columbo in the Caribbean.
Yeah,
Columbo in the Caribbean is how I describe it. Yeah.
And Ralph is Columbo.
Yes.
And we have a picture of the cat. We have a picture of the cast here. And Ralph, maybe just give a quick rundown of who they are and.
I'm not quite sure why that's the picture we chose, because I'm supposed to be the lead character in this thing, and somehow I'm the smallest guy in the background. I've not sold myself very well at all here. But yes, the guy on my left shoulder is the commissioner of the. It's set in the Caribbean, on a fictional island of Saint-Marie, and the story is that in the first instance 10 years ago, a British police chief died, and someone was sent over from London to help solve the case. And that guy did 3 seasons, and then he moved on, and then somebody else came on, and then he moved on. So I'm the 4th detective to arrive in the series. So that's me. To the left of me is the commissioner. To the right of me is the sergeant, wearing shorts that I assume is standard police issue on that island, and to the right of her is the owner of the local bar, and the handsome young dude sitting on the motorbike is also a sergeant. So yeah, that's the team, and we go around this fictional Caribbean island solving murders in a sort of slightly jolly way, considering that there's at least 1 death per episode.
And Ralph's
jolly murder.
And Ralph's character on the show is this neurotic. Hates the sun. And there's a picture of him sitting on his hammock with his backpack, waiting for his mother to pick him up from school.
It's not bad view. Exactly. Yeah. It's not a bad view where I live there.
That is actually the house that he's supposed to live in on the beach, and we were in that house, which was kind of cool. I was on the set.
In the interest of full disclosure to anyone watching this who's not related to any of you, John and I know each other because I am engaged to John's daughter. In fact, I'm actually sitting in John's daughter's childhood bedroom, which is I guess a little bit weird while we're having this conversation. But yes, so John came out to visit me in the Caribbean last year when we were allowed to travel in the world. And so John's seen the whole John basically swanned around a Caribbean island pretending it was a visit with me, but really he was just having a great time.
Free craft services. Who doesn't love that?
Exactly. That's it.
I tell you, a lot of Americans know this show. I've seen it. It is a great detective story, and it's funny. You are the funniest.
Yeah.
And it's so enjoyable. It really is. And
but it was on Netflix as well. I'm hoping that it's going to be back on Netflix at the end of this year.
Good. Absolutely. Americans are going to love this show. I'm not sure it's going to help tourism because of the number of murders on British-owned island.
Well, actually, that's a fair point. But I said this to the producer, and he said something which really made me laugh, which is, it seems like for a tiny island that there's a high murder rate. But if you're only going off what you see on the TV, technically there's 8 episodes a season. So technically there's only 8 murders a year, which actually puts it at a very, very low crime rate. When you think about
an island of like 4 miles long. So.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. There's only a population of 26.
So let me. What would your typical day, for people that don't know, what is your typical day like in Guadeloupe? Like on the day where you have the show?
Yeah, so Guadeloupe is the French Caribbean island where we film it. I've always, over the years, you're always slightly embarrassed as an actor to go, it's hard work, because real hard work isn't acting, right? It's not, you could be working down a mine or in a factory or like doing actual work. But that said, it's not always a picnic. You can be physically quite tiring, especially in the heat of the Caribbean island. We film right through the middle of summer because it's the low season for tourism, so we're not as disturbed by people. But, I'll get up at 5:30 and I'll have to be down at the base by 6 where the costume trucks and the makeup trucks are, and they provide you with breakfast and everything. And, they do provide you with breakfast and they pick you up. Again, there aren't that many jobs where they send a car for you. So it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, but they do give you a car. They do give you a car and let you just pull into a gas station and sign for as much gas as you want.
Listen, I love it. They're going, when I first arrived on the island, like, this is where you live. And I was like, how many other people are living here? And they went, no, this is yours. I was like, this is great. And then I said, whose car is that out front? And they went, yours. Here's the keys. So
and it's on the side of a mountain. It's on the side of a mountain.
Yeah, it's pretty. I looked out. I definitely looked out.
Yeah.
So did. I get to to the unit base where we all get ready when it's still dark, and then you sit and they put your makeup on and everything, and then it's just it's a lot. Most of the thing about filming a TV show, most of the downside to it is it's surprisingly boring. People think it's going to be really, really glamorous and really fun. The moments in between they say action and cut, that's it. That's the exciting bit. And everything else is 99% of the day. I reckon technically what they pay me for, if you consider it between action and cut, the actual acting, it's probably about half an hour's work per day, maybe an hour's work per day. The rest of it is just sitting around trying to stay out of trouble and not being bored. And in my case, trying not to overheat, because I've got that. You saw the outfit, the shirt, the tie, the jacket. I'm desperate one day to just be like, can my character just suddenly chill out and just have like a linen shirt and just a t-shirt and a pair of shorts? But no, he's this really kind of buttoned up, sort of slightly nerdy guy. And I have to wear that backpack. So, it's physically quite demanding. By the end of the day, you are wiped. So yeah, that's a typical day. It's enjoyable, but it's not without its challenges.
And when do you get the scripts for the show? Because...
Not as early as you would think, actually, because it has to go through so many iterations, so many drafts to get it just right. One of the things that's quite impressive about this show, I think, is that it's they have a murder every week, right? And so a mystery every week that you have to solve every week, like Columbo. But if you remember Columbo, I think episodes of Columbo, I think they were 90 minutes, right? Yes. So you've got a lot of plot to get through in 90 minutes. You've got this, and then there's a twist, and then there's a red herring, and then it turns out that the guy you suspected wasn't the guy. And they do all that within 90 minutes. And that's pretty standard for these shows. Death in Paradise is an hour long. So you've got, a third less of the time to get through all that. Plus, you've got characterization. Plus, you've got a story arc where my character might fall in love with someone, or quite be interested in someone, or somebody else's character, they need to pass their sergeant's exams or whatever last year. So the script is surprisingly, for something that seems quite light-hearted, is really, really tight. Really worked, really worked and worked and worked. Like a samurai sword, folded over and folded over and folded over until it's tight. So the long and short of it is they don't show it.
Like a samurai sword folded over.
Yeah, do you know what? Sorry, that might not be the best metaphor. Like when they make a samurai sword, they beat it out, and then fold it, and they beat it out, and they do it like thousands of times, so that by the time it becomes a sword, it's like absolutely.
Peter thought you meant the sword bent over this way.
Yeah, it's bent like a samurai sword. Yeah, that would be the worst metaphor in the world. Sorry, I should have picked it. What I mean is that it's refined and refined and refined until it's as perfect as it can be by the time you.
That's great.
I've done a lot of TV shows, and it turns out, though, but it's like your show where the script does change every day because the producers are usually watching it, the writers, and then they come up with stuff. So
yeah, exactly. And what it is that they have to. But the truth is, when you said, when do I see the script? Not that long before, probably just a couple of weeks in advance. It would be nicer to be able to get them a bit longer in advance, but I think maybe they don't give them to me because they don't want me going, hey, can we just change this? No, leave it alone. It's been worked about 10 times already. Leave it alone. So I think it's just their insurance policy is stopping me trying to mess around with it.
When I was with you, you got scripts like that night at like 11 o'clock for shooting for the next day at like 8, right?
Well, sometimes, I mean, you've got to be, you don't want too many changes, but sometimes it's part of the job. You've got to be able to be like, okay, well, there's a reason that they had to change this. Maybe they rethought something. Sometimes what will happen is you'll have shot half an episode and they'll have started to edit it together. And, it's only a rough edit, but they've started to get an idea of what the shape of it looks like so far. And then they're able to say, well, hold on. This bit here, we had to drop that because it didn't quite work or it didn't make sense once we saw it all together. And so this next scene that we're going to do in a couple of days' time, we need to totally rethink that. So you've just got to be prepared to kind of roll with that and be on your toes. And I've always been quite lucky because I can learn lines pretty quickly. But yeah, it's tricky.
Be honest. Have you ever written one of your lines on your hand?
No, I haven't. But I always, there are sometimes bits where you'll get like a file, like a suspect's file, and somebody will hand it to you, and the line will be like, they were admitted to hospital 3 times in 2019 for a diabetic condition, and you're like, I've got so many other lines in this scene. I can't be bothered learning that. I'll just literally read it off the paper. So you can always see me go, hey, JP, do we have that suspect's file? And I'm like, that, thanks. And then I'll go, oh, great, let's see. Oh, it seems that they were in hospital 3 times. So I do cheat wherever I can.
All right. Well, we got to keep moving with this because we got a lot to cover with you still, and we have short time on this. Besides acting, you're a big soccer player. That was like one of your loves.
I was before I was 41. Yeah, that's me. That's me playing in that we do these things in England. And I guess soccer is a sport that lends itself to this in a way that kind of, baseball, NFL, NBA aren't. We often have these, I guess you'd call them pro-am games where you get like, keen, enthusiastic amateurs like me. And if I may say, people who aren't necessarily as qualified as me as well. But, I used to play semi-professionally because I was all right. But, you get some guys who look like their legs are on backwards when they try and run. Like you've never seen anything like it. And you just see these it would be like putting somebody out against like Tom Brady or so. You just think this seems a little unfair. But, soccer is a game where, you don't have to worry about getting hit by the ex-professionals who are going to kill you. So I've been lucky enough to play in a few of these games.
In those games, you also have like professional players that are out of contract, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's been lovely for me because
they play in front of thousands of
60,000. So I've played in front of 70,000, 10 million on the TV once, and I've always been quite lucky because I've always kind of done quite well in those games. And so in England, I think it's fair to say I've sort of got a bit of a reputation for people going, hey, this lad can play. And to be honest, if you love sport like I do, then that matters so much more than any of the acting stuff. I couldn't care less. Like, people are going, "Oh, I really, really love your stuff, your acting work." I'm like, great, thanks very much. And then people go, "But you're such a good footballer." I'm like, "Thank you very much. That's all I care about." You know?
And also, you're an extreme skier too, right? Where you got dropped off. Well, you get dropped off by a helicopter. That's pretty extreme.
Oh yeah,
Joe Silky extreme is getting up to change the channel.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a few of extreme skiers here talking to you guys. You know, you all look like you're kind of you're big sportsmen. You know, I'm very aware. I'm very aware of
ballet and ski.
Yeah, I'm very aware of sort of getting older, especially when I think about soccer and how much longer I'm going to be able to play. Really, I only sort of play casually now, and I'm 41, and that's the kind of age where you start to really, you think, okay, I'm 41, I am getting older now. I've crossed this sort of threshold, but I have to say it's really lovely to do an interview where I'm the youngest member of the team by about 55 years. It's really kind of you guys. Thank you.
That's funny. It's funny, Ralph. It's real funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Don't forget that I know you.
That's true. Where I live, which is most worrying. And you're out now.
And and before this, you were on a TV show that couldn't be more English than the title of Two Lagers and a Bag of Crisps.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. We've got everything there. Pints, lager, and crisps. It couldn't be more English, could it? Yeah, that was when I was sort of in my early 20s. It was I guess what would it be like? What's a good people when it was about to come out, people were like, "Oh, is this the new Friends?" It was like, no, it's nothing like Friends. The most I guess a comparison would be like, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It's a great show, and in the one hand, it's like nothing like that, and it's also a bit like that in that it's completely irreverent and completely ridiculous, and all the characters are kind of dicks. Like they're lovable, but they're sort of very self-serving and into their own kind of their own world. So it was just this sort of thing, this celebration of British working class youth. And in the early 2000s and late 90s when it started, British working class youth, as I'm sure it is today, was mostly interested in not politics, not this, that, was mostly interested in getting drunk and trying to make out with each other. And that was basically the show, which was great fun for me. So yeah, that lasted, but that lasted for 10 years. And probably I think the reason we stopped doing it was because it started to be less funny when we were all pushing 30. It was like, are you guys not going to grow up at any point? So yeah, it was good fun. But it was
after a while.
Exactly.
And then before that, you started on a TV show called The Royal Family. And you were going to medical school or something, right? Or you were I'm 18 in that picture, and I never knew I was going to be an actor when I was growing up. I thought I was doing it like as a hobby, really. I joined a local drama group, and then the woman who ran that sort of ran an agency, set up an agency for kids. I didn't even know what an agency was, so I was like, I'll sign up. Didn't even think about it, and from about 13, I think I got like one small role on a small TV show. And then I did about one small role a year as a teenager, just as a hobby, never thinking I would do it as a career. And what I was going to do was go to medical school. Anyway, I'm 17 years old. I go for this audition for this show called The Royal Family. And we filmed it. And then it was put on the shelf for about 8 months while they waited to release it in September 98. But during that time, I had to decide what I was going to do with my life. And I'd applied to medical school and everything. And so I started med school on the Monday, and on the Thursday, the Royal Family's first episode was broadcast in the same week, and it was such a huge hit. It was in England. It was as big as The Office was. In fact, it was The Office before The Office was The Office, and it was that much of a cultural phenomenon. And so suddenly, within about 2 weeks, I'm still at medical school, and after week one, people are going, "Are you in that TV show?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is a bit weird, a bit awkward, isn't it?" Like I didn't think it was going to be a big thing. So after about 4 weeks in med school, I was like, I think I'm going to have to drop out, and because it feels like an opportunity that I'll regret for the rest of my life if I don't give it a go. And I did drop out, and the rest is history. That was 23 years ago, and luckily I'm still working today, which is as much as anyone can hope for in my industry, really. Yeah. Right. All right. Yeah. Ralph and my daughter met when my daughter's show was at the National Theater, and he was one of the lead actors in that play.
Yeah, you should. I mean, you should get Lindsay on this show actually, because it's lovely to talk to you guys and sort of say it's nice to retrospectively look back at my career and think, You know what? It has been it's been pretty good, and I'm very proud. And, you know, we've talked about 3, you know, I've been in plenty of other things, but these are the kind of 3 shows that are big in England. Although in America, being big in England is a bit like being in England and going, I'm really big in Luxembourg. It's like, who cares? but you're being very kind about it. You're all being very nice. But like Lindsay's career is so embarrassingly brilliant that like I feel vaguely embarrassed talking about mine in the same breath as her. And it's both, I'm both incredibly proud and incredibly jealous. Like I'm sort of slightly sick of hearing about how well she's doing. You know, I'll be like, oh yeah, we'll all have like phone calls and meetings in the morning, and I'll just say, how was it? I'll say, well, yeah, I had an audition and I think it went okay on Zoom, and I also chatted to. Did an interview and it was pretty good. And I was like, how about you? She's like, well, yeah, I had a call with Robert De Niro and he wants me to write something. And I, do you know what? Just stop. I don't even want to hear about your shit anymore. It's too good and you're making me look bad. So you should get her on as a guest.
Right, so I'm going to end this interview with one quick question for you.
Sure.
At what point in your life did you decide that this phony English accent would take you as far as it did?
Well, now I'm here. I should probably drop it. Right? Because no one can understand what I'm talking about anyway. You're going to have to put subtitles under this whole interview. I mean, maybe I should drop it, but I've been doing it so long, like it just comes naturally now. You know, when Hugh Grant was doing House, you remember House? So many people didn't even realize that Hugh Grant was English, but not only is he English, he's very famous in England before he was in House. And Hugh is known, he's very, very, very posh, went to Eton, went to Cambridge. And, you know, in real life, Hugh Grant talks like the Queen, you know? And so him just being this sort of archetypal American is very, very funny to us back home. And the same with Andrew Lincoln when he did The Walking Dead. But so many people didn't realize the lead in The Walking Dead, you know, Rick, whatever his name is, I can't remember. He's English too. And people just freak out when they hear them do this English accent. So what would be really lovely is to like get a part in America where I'm playing American and I just do it, never tell anyone, and then just go on some chat show and be like, all right, how's it going? And be like, whoa, dude. So that's my dream one day, is to freak out America by never letting them know.
Hey, Ralph, I want to say something out loud, Ralph, that you might be thinking, but you can't say it. Lindsay Ferrentino is so amazingly successful, it's hard to believe that John is her father.
I mean, to be honest,
that's the way to kiss her ass, Peter.
If I'd have thought of that, then I definitely would have said it. So don't worry about that. But, no, it is hard to believe because you know, Lindsay's this incredibly intelligent, incredibly talented writer who can sort of look deep into the heart and soul of humanity and put it on a page. And John does linking rings, so you can see where it comes from. You can see where it comes from.
I've never seen his spooky stuff inside bit. Okay, I'm defending you, John. I'm standing up.
I see that. I know.
All right. Well, we're going to ask you to stick around, I guess.
Oh, I'll sure.
But it's this time we're going to bring out
crisps and relax.
Yes.
It's now time for Peter Bale's History Tale.
All right, hey, welcome to Peter Bale's History Tales. And this week, in honor of our very special guest, we are covering silliness from the 80s UK edition. I have done extensive research.
I'm sure a lot of our audience will recognize crazy stuff from England in the 80s. Go ahead.
You have a huge following in Luxembourg, actually.
Yes.
Ralph, you are so much younger than us. You're on the Bitchin Baby Boomers podcast. You, right now, you are an honorary Bitchin Baby Boomer.
Very happy.
You're much younger. And the 80s, you may be in your consciousness, but you were really young in the 80s. But I wanted to see if you remember some of this stuff and you can explain it to us. Now, for example, what word do you use for candy?
Oh, sweets.
Sweets. We say candy. This is UK candy from the 80s. Did you grow up? Do you remember any of this?
I remember it all. Yeah.
Do you really?
Double dippers, jawbreakers, fruit salads. Yeah, I remember them all. And in fact, so I happen to also know from going out with Lindsay that, you might not know all this stuff, and we might have a bit of like American candy's better and UK candy's better, but I know how crazy you Americans go for our Cadbury's chocolate, so don't even try to play that game.
Oh, but Ralph, what in the world is a gobstopper? What is a gobstopper?
I think it's a giant ball of well, I guess you'd say candy, like hard candy with, I think it's like mint flavor, but the idea is like, it's called a gobstopper, gob as in slang for your mouth. And it's so big. It's bigger than a golf ball. It's probably the size of a baseball. And the idea was,
it sounds dirty.
It does sound
everlasting gobstopper.
It's like a giant jawbreaker.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And
now,
you stick it in, and it lasts forever.
What about space dust popping candy? Space dust popping.
Do you not have popping candy? How far?
Yes,
Pop
we
rocks.
do.
Oh, you call them pop rocks?
Pop rocks.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Fizz bombs.
Fizz bombs. Yeah. Those are like sherbet, like a sherbet like ball that you put in your mouth and it sort of explodes. We got some great sweets. This is really taking me back.
Yeah. I used to get those on hangover mornings. I used to get fizz bombs.
Yeah. You call them Alka-Seltzers though, right?
Alka-Seltzers.
Dib dabs. How about dib dabs?
Dib dabs were like two packets of sherbet, one orange flavor and one blackcurrant flavor, and you'd have in the side of it, you'd have like a stick of candy that you take out and lick to get it wet and then dip it in. I'm thinking about it. That can't have been hygienic. Surely they don't exist anymore.
I know.
They won't do after COVID, I'll tell you that.
No. All right. Wonderful memories. I love the candy stuff, and we do love British candy. We really do. Now, the next one. Who is this? Who is this thing?
Super Ted.
Do you remember this?
I do remember. So this is absolutely from when I was like 6, 7 years old. Did you? I guess you didn't have Super Ted. No, thinking about it, you have an English accent, so I'm sure you didn't.
Mighty Mouse. So
yeah. Well, I guess Super Ted was probably like a version of Mighty Mouse. He was a teddy bear that was just a normal teddy bear by day, and then at night he transformed into Super Ted. I always hated Super Ted though because he was a little bit wet. You know, like I was a Superman fan. Yeah, he was a bit of a.
I wonder if that's where they got.
I'm trying to think of a polite way of saying he was a
politically
bit of a pussy,
correct.
I'm just going to have to leave it with that.
Okay, I think calling him a pussy is politically correct.
I wonder if that's where they got the idea for the movie Ted.
I mean, it would make sense. I mean, Super Ted was a big thing. Like it was a big thing, but in England in the 80s. But yeah, I was never a fan.
All right. Now this next one, I did extensive research in the archives.
There it is.
This is the first cell phone in the UK. And it just reminded me of British war movies where you guys call in artillery against the Germans. Do you remember them? You remember them?
There'd be a soldier with one on his back, and he'd take it off and do the thing and go, "General, we need help on the front line."
That's right. We had we didn't have it like that, but we had big cell phones. That's the first cell phone.
And they emitted a lot of radiation. That guy was 20 when he picked up that phone to his
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Ralph, you're in school.
I know where you're going with this.
Okay,
I know you're going with this. Yeah, go on.
You turn to the student next to you in school and you say, "Can I use your
your rubber?"
Yes.
Shipping rubbers in England. All right.
Yes.
Let's not even get it. If you wanted to borrow somebody's eraser at the same time as you wanted to see if you could, if they'd give you a cigarette, you would say, "Can I borrow a rubber because I want to bum a fag."
Just don't borrow used rubbers.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't translate that well in the US.
I love it. Now,
don't get too drunk to borrow a used rubber.
I read that in the UK in the 80s, and it must have gone into the 90s, this car, which we didn't have in the US, was all over the place. Does that look like a familiar car to you? I believe it Austin Maestro? Maestro? How do you pronounce it?
My grandparents had one. Maestro. My grandparents had one of those. And actually, it's that shape, that particular shape of car. Not just the Austin Maestro, but like there was a Mini Metro, and there was all sorts of similar things like it, and it just Volkswagen Golf as well. That shape of car just doesn't exist in America. You don't see it. And I think that's a good thing, because those cars were a piece of shit, by the way. Even I knew that, and I was 8.
Ralph, I got to ask you this. In America, especially after baby boomers, I would even say most people don't know how to drive a standard shift, a stick shift. But in the UK, everybody knows how to drive a stick shift,
it's standard, really. Like when you do your driving lessons and a driving test, it's just culturally, it's just assumed that you're going to use a stick. It's just the way it is. And I gather that when you do driver's ed here, it's assumed mostly that you probably won't bother. And I just think that cultural shift is weird, because what it means is you've got a whole population that, without thinking, can drive a manual car, and a whole population that's like, oh my God, what? So I think we might have got that one right over you guys on this occasion.
And in England, if you pass your test on a automatic, right, you can't drive a stick.
You can't drive a manual, no. Yeah, you're not allowed. Exactly.
And also,
in America, if you pass on an automatic, are you licensed to drive stick?
Yes.
That makes no sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
And one thing they do in England, which is really nice when you're learning to drive, you go to any store and you get this big L that you stick in the window, so that people know you're a learner. So when you're trying to start off on a hill and you're rolling backwards, the guy doesn't have his hand on the horn.
Yeah. Do you not have that? I guess you don't have L plates, do you? No.
No.
That makes sense. No.
Hey, Ralph, when I
you're just being a loser.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you roll backwards and crash into the guy behind you.
When I think about, the English, I love the English, I really do. And they're a little different. And this is a popular toy for babies in the 80s. You probably had one of these. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I don't know. We like to keep our children terrified in England. It makes them. It helps with discipline. When they won't eat their greens, you go, "Oh, maybe bring out that toy."
Never know when there's going to be another blitz, so you got to keep them.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to keep them on their toes, right?
Well, thank you, honorary Bitchin Baby Boomer Ralf Little.
It was my pleasure.
And now we're going to keep it rolling. I get to throw to
our little ray of sunshine, Mr. Mike Grief in Grief's Grief.
All right. Hey, thanks, Joe, for that. I needed the nap. Anyway, I want to welcome Ralph. And Ralph, thank you so much for lowering your professional and personal standards and being here with us today. One quick question. I know, here in the United States, they've done away with, elephants and stuff, but can you still have all those animals in Piccadilly Circus?
Yes, we have them all.
That's great. Oh, well, it's good to be here. So anyway, my little grief for this week, the BS that's going on is all these shortages. I know you guys have heard now there's a gas shortage because there was some kind of bullshit hacking or whatever of some East Coast line. It's like, give me a break. It's like, it's just an excuse to raise the price of gas. I don't know what you guys are paying on the East Coast, but I'm sure it's a lot. And it's all just BS. It's like, come on, every year. It's like they got the winter blend, the summer blend. What is it, Starbucks? They got to change the blend of the gasoline. There's a chlorine shortage, and we talked about this before. Chlorine. It's like there was a fire. Everything's in the short. Believe it, there's a chicken shortage. There's a steel shortage. They're having a shortage of ketchup packages. Can you believe it? So it's like I can't even make my tomato basil soup. It's just, and Ralph doesn't know that because he's never actually, and thank you for doing that special thing for an actor on the show, Joe. Like we've never had an actor on the show before. Did you guys, I was just see, I get, so it's like, I set up something for the show and I see something just before. Did you guys see that people are criticizing Henry Winkler? He went fishing and he he posted a picture of himself with a big trout. And people are saying, he's a catch and release guy. They're saying that's cruel. It's like, why does everyone on the internet think they're entitled to some kind of an opinion? It's like, just shut them. I swear to God, it's like I like to fish. Listen, if you're out there and you're hunting exotic animals like elephants, giraffes, and stuff like that, yeah, you're a piece of shit. We should hunt you. That's what we should. We should hunt hunters who hunt exotic animals. But if you're fishing, listen, if I'm hungry, I'm doing I'd butter a hamster and eat it live if I was hungry. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it. I swear to God, I didn't come on this show to talk about any of this stuff. But I actually had a whole bit I was going to do about cats because, I'm not going to say I hate cats because that's not true. I'm not going to say cats are selfish little bastards that are just so self-involved they could care. It's none of that. You know what I mean? I don't. I
can't say that on the internet.
What's that? You can't say that on the internet?
You can't hate cats on the internet. No.
It's not about cats. Well, you can't say that because people love little kitties. I walk into one of those places where you adopt them. I go, oh, thank you. Can I have this? Is a good one. Throw it at the wall. Go, that one broke. Can I have another one? Like. But the whole reason I was going to talk about cats is because it was going to bring me to Egypt where they worship cats and that was going to bring me to this whole thing because there's all this stuff going on and this I always, when we have a special guest, I have to write a poem or do something. And you guys remember Dr. Seuss was having a whole big Ralph, did you hear about that they're saying that a lot of this stuff is racist, is sexist, is this and that, it's the other
Dr.
thing.
Seuss.
And they just Dr. Seuss, yes. Theodore Geisel, who was he an English guy? With a name like Theodore Geisel, he probably.
I don't think so. No.
No.
He's from San Diego.
There you go. Let's hear your American accent. Let's hear you do an American. Yeah, come on, go ahead.
Oh, God.
Thanks a lot, Ralph. Okay. The questions get harder as the rounds progress.
There you go.
He's got a career and I don't. Okay, and I'm on Bitchin Baby Boomers. No, I'm sorry.
So am I. This is the end of mine.
No kidding. Once people see you on this, you'll never work again. So let me tell you. But anyway, so they discovered a new one, a new poem, a new children's rhyme from Dr. Seuss. And you talk about having trouble with his other ones. Here's this one. It's called "If I Were a Jew" by Gerald McGrew. If I were a Jew, I know just what I'd do. I'd build me a pyramid without using a screw. I'd open a deli and serve some white fish on top of a delicious potato knish. If I were a Jew, I'd never be blue. I'd celebrate Hanukkah in Kalamazoo. Yes, if I were a Jew, that's what I'd do.
Pure poetry.
Anyway, the show's only run like 20 minutes over, so I'm going to cut it right there. But I want to actually thank you so much, Ralf Little, our special guest, for being here today. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you to our regular people, Peter, Bales, John Ferrentino, Joe Silky, and Mike Myone. And for you people out there, don't forget to like us and subscribe on YouTube. Push the bell, subscribe, or I'm going to find you and kill you.
And if you haven't become a member of the Bitchin Baby Boomers face group, you ought to do that right now.
Mm.
And I was supposed to go there, but I will tell you that you should go. You can go see all the past and present shows on the www.thebbbbradio.com. All our shows are there, past and present.
And you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
And this week, I'm going to try some new medication that hopefully is going to work.
Tune in next week to more Bitchin' Baby Boomers.